The title of today's talk is Who Am I? Who are you? Some thoughts on personal identity. Reverend Paul has in his order of service every time he speaks the following quote from Rabbi Joshua ben Levi. Before every human being goes a procession of 10,000 angels who sing and declare, make way for the image of God. Wow. When I first read that, it really knocked me over. It's a very beautiful and very powerful statement. How many people remember seeing it in Paul's order of service? It's certainly a more powerful way of reflecting our Unitarian Universalist principle to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Of course, we understand some of us would sometimes prefer if the statement said, make way for the human beings in whose image God was created. Either way, God and humans are traditionally reflections of each other. That is, they are both powerful and disappointing, beautiful and ugly, cruel and depraved, or compassionate and saintly. Above all, supremely multifaceted, displaying many personalities and playing many roles. What is your personality? What roles do you play? Who are you? There are about 8 billion people in the world today. Every one of them is somebody special. 10,000 times 8 billion. I guess if you're an angel, you're not going to have any trouble finding a job. How does the inherent worth and dignity of every person express itself in each person? The question, who are you, is traditionally answered by somebody's name. You know me as Al. My name is Alfred Stawsky. But my name is also Ephraim Stawsky. Both are correct. Ephraim is my Hebrew name. As a child, my family called me Effie. The only language I spoke at that time was Yiddish. I used to be, turn the page, I used to be Effie. Now I'm Al, but Effie is still mixed in there somewhere. As a somewhat different example, in history, people were kidnapped from Africa and enslaved for lifetime labor in the plantation fields of the New World. They were forced to take slave names to make them forget when they were free. We remember the scene from the TV series Roots, where Kinta Kunti was being tortured to give up his African name, and take his slave name. Some African Americans today choose to reject their given family names and take names reflecting a different identity which reflects African roots. The famous poet Amiri Baraka, father of Ras Baraka, the present mayor of Newark, was originally known as Leroy Jones. Malcolm X, the great African American leader and prophet, was earlier Malcolm Little, a one-time thief and ex-convict. I guess he turned out not to be so little. The legendary world champion boxer and anti-war activist Muhammad Ali used to be Cassius Clay. Double identities of African Americans are a term that was used in W.E.B. Du Bois' famous book, The Souls of Black Folk. The double identity referred to the fact that they inherited their African roots, and along with that, they inherited the racism of our country. And at the same time, were expected to be good American citizens. Human culture is full of references to the two or more aspects of human identity. Sigmund Freud famously revealed the human superego, the good or controlling aspect, and the id, the bad or evil impulse. These are supposed to be unconscious activities, like in popular culture, the devil made me do it, or I wasn't myself, or I was drunk and didn't know what I was doing, or I must have blacked out, or it was like I was another person. Robert Louis Stevenson went all the way when he wrote Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Hyde, I know of at least 3 versions of that story, movie versions, and many spin-offs. Jekyll was to represent the so-called normal, and Mr. Hyde, the monstrous, morally unrestrained, repressed part of the personality. Was Mr. Hyde really repressed, or was a sometimes desirable alternative? One movie version with Jack Palance playing the leads changed the conventional meaning. Instead of a heroic, aggressive scientist, Dr. Jekyll was somewhat meek, stooped, and passive, while Mr. Hyde was strong, handsome, and charismatic, while at the same time being vicious and amoral. Which personality was really desired, or were both so embedded that both were compelling keepers and neither dispensable? Popular culture transformed this duality and turned it on its head with a countless variety of superheroes. Clark Kent was the meek, unassuming reporter, and his alter ego, Superman, was all things super, including morality and going after them, fighting the bad guys. No magic potion was needed, only an empty telephone booth to change his clothes. You reflect Clark Kent or Superman? Are you Bruce Wayne or Batman or both? There seem to be so many persons who display stark contrasts and opposite features in their lives, in their beliefs, and in their behavior in history and in our society. Thomas Jefferson, for example, spoke against slavery and for gradual emancipation. He couldn't even turn a page. He wrote the immortal words, "All men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with inalienable rights. Among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Yet he owned and ran one of the largest and most lucrative slave labor businesses in Virginia. He did not even free his enslaved laborers as others may have done, such as George Washington. He spoke against the degradation of the white race by racial mixing and lobbied to have African women who consorted, unquote, with white men expelled from Virginia. But Jefferson's own enslaved girl, Sally Hemings, bore his first of several children at the age of 16. Yet Thomas Jefferson is considered father of U.S. America's democratic heritage. Was he one man or was he two? Unfortunately, today, there are many examples in the United States politics of conflicting compartmentalized personalities. Some perhaps because they are confused, or many perhaps because they're just power hungry and hypocritical. Do they know who they are? I think they know who they are. I think we know who they are. Yet all of them have an inherent worth and dignity. What is needed to make it come out? In what is called today modern literature, unquote, who you are seems to be a mishmash of life's experiences, memories, past behavior, and fantasies. This is all incorporated into how one projects oneself to others in any given situation. I've read some modern literature. Frankly, I don't get most of it. I've read William Faulkner, Virginia Woolf, Toni Morrison. It's claimed that if someone says they understand William Faulkner, they must be lying. In the voluminous blockbuster of modern literature, Remembrance of Things Past, written by Marcel Proust, which, by the way, I haven't read. One edition is 7 volumes. It is said that things you experience as you go through life, your reactions, thoughts, and dreams define you. The changing understanding of yourself and the social and physical world of which you are a part and of who you are. These things are who you are part of who you are. These things are continually changing, and therefore, so are you. So there is truth when you say, I'm not the person I used to be. In fact, you may say, I am truly someone else. So people change, and perhaps change radically. Change may come with time and experience, perhaps as a result of a life-changing trauma. One person over time can be 2 people. This is perhaps a way of understanding our belief in the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Including those who in our society perhaps need to have changed a lot. When someone who is racist, sexist, homophobic changes, they sometimes become tainted and accused for all time of something in their past. In my view, they should be applauded for changing and urged to speak of their change and urge others to change as well. What's the point of convincing people to change for the better and then not accepting their change? This introduces another subject which I think is very important in this subject, and that is the criminal justice system. I think the criminal justice system is not based on accountability, only on terms of punishment, length of prison time, and the pain and cruelty that one can inflict on the perpetrator of a crime. Although prison systems are called departments of correction, instead of changing people for the better, they have been shown to change people for the worse and do not restore the damage that crime causes. The damage that crime causes. The victim, especially of violent crime, often has the worst sufferer of a violent crime and is challenged and destroyed often by the experience. The justice system ignores the victim and addresses only the state and the perpetrator. Crime in our society is between the perpetrator and the state. The existing system directs the offender to deny his guilt, deny the role he or she played in the crime, and focus on escaping or reducing punishment, or by plea bargaining, actually to plead guilty and be punished for some other crime that he did not commit. One approach to deal with this problem is called restorative justice. This addresses the roles and identity needs of victims, offenders, and the community, resulting in a positive outcome very often to the committing of a crime. How many people have heard of restorative justice? Raise hands. Oh, quite a few. Okay. This was one of the topics that was dealt with, and perhaps still is, I've lost touch, in the Criminal Justice Reform Task Force of the UU Justice, New Jersey Justice organization. This approach addresses the negative role defining the effects of a crime for positive roles in serving the needs of the individual and the community. It can result in positive changes and possibly no incarceration time under special circumstances, especially for young people. Restorative justice has roots in the indigenous cultures of the Maoris of New Zealand and Australia, Native American peoples in the United States and the Western Hemisphere, and in the sub-Saharan peoples of Africa. New Zealand has adopted restorative justice as part of its criminal justice system, and it is being attempted in various programs internationally, including a pilot program here in New Jersey, which we should pay attention to. Attention, Racial and Social Justice Team. For further interest, for those who may be interested in pursuing this, I recommend The Little Book of Restorative Justice by Howard Zehr, Z-E-H-R. Who are and the roles we play are not fixed, even with us old folks who can't see so well and can't turn pages. Who you are changes with time and experience, or dramatically with a aha moment, strong motivation, or trauma. Fantasies are also important and are always up for grabs. Now at the age of 92, I can look back and try to remember some of the people I used to be. I remember being quite opinionated and know-it-all. I think those people who know me well will give it to me even more strongly. In any event, I hope I have come out more as someone who has inherent worth and dignity. What I like in conclusion is the way in which who you are is challenged by the questions posed by Rabbi Hillel of antiquity as follows: if I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I am only for myself, then what am I? And if not now, when? If not now, when? What does that question mean to you? Thank you very much.
If you enjoyed this video, please like us on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and click on the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video.